This definitely was the material that we've been waiting for with Black Clover. Honestly, like, again, as we've gone through each of these kind of episodes review, and it really does just make me over the moon whenever, like, because obviously, like, having, like, different, like, opinions from, like, a lot of other people that we've seen from, like, different times where it's, like, I've seen people that are like, you know what, I like this Gauche stuff. Like, they're like, I actually personally enjoy some of the stuff that they're doing with him, or others where a little bit more in agreement with me, where it's like, oh my god, this is the fucking word. And I like always like keeping up with like other people's like kind of thoughts and opinions, because at the end of the day, like, even though it's a very like subjective thing where it's like, okay, like, it's at the end of the day it's people's own, it's like personal opinion, but I'm kind of glad the majority of people are like, can we please just get this out of the fucking way, please, I swear to god. And it's like, it's mainly just because it's like, we want to get to material like this. We want to get to like the stuff that's recently come out, which also really makes me happy that we finally got like Volume 11 like finally out over here. It's like, give us stuff like this. This is where we wanted it to be ending up, like finishing up. I believe this is literally the conclusion of where a lot of us were saying that the Witch arc was. I believe this does cover all of that. So it's like, we was hoping that at least 11 volumes on there, but who knows if we can get like 7 at this point, maybe 8 for like 50 episode run. But this episode kind of shocked me in a way where I was like, there was a lot of like really good like shots and like screen in this episode. While it wasn't like a heavy, super beautiful, gorgeous looking animated episode, but I feel like the way how they did some of the shots and a little bit of the compositions on there were actually really well done, from what we get to see, considering that a lot of the previous episodes that we've been seeing have been very stale, very still. And this is one chapter I remember really not liking because it was like, oh, Asta just hit a thing really hard and there was multiple versions. But the way how they could, like, foretold it, whereas like, this is actually better than when this came out in the manga, because it was like, here's a little attack that Asta does. Oh, it's a one little swipe, but they actually added more to this scene, more than what the anime, like, this anime added way more than what the original manga did. It was like, this is actually a way better thing and foretold better than what, like, the creator was able to do in, like, a couple of pages. And I was like, this is what I want from the anime adaptation. I want it to enhance the experience and add stuff and improve in where the original source material, like, failed in some ways. And my god, that ending, we've got Leet involved now, thank god. And I would say this, the people, if you haven't actually watched the episode, I know I normally try and get these out like a little later than usual, maybe a day or two late on there. I really hope you haven't seen the preview, because the preview really spoils a lot of what's going to be happening pretty soon. Mind you, as well, with the opening, they did mention that, which is another thing to mention as well, really, before we get full into like this episode review as well, is that the opening has changed again. Like, they've added more little visual details. There was one thing I noticed, like, there was more filters added into the opening. There was nothing too drastic to really do a live reaction to it, but it was the smallest details like that. Like, Asta had a couple of, like, battle wounds from, like, the fight that you got to see. Like, the ending was tiny little different, some of the filters, and there was no added scenes, there was no huge improvements like we were with the second version. The ending also had some finished animation on there, where it was just like a couple of still shots of Noelle at the start. That's now an actually full animated scene. So as I was like, that's probably the first real time that I can personally think of where an ending has properly changed in a way where it's like it gets a new version of the opening, which is like, that's a nice little addition. I mean, personally, I'm not too big on ending freeze, so I'm like, but still, it's something to like make a little nod where I was like, that looks completely different, and I had to go back and like check the other episodes. And I'm like, no, this is different, slightly, like just by that small smidgen. So I definitely will give Clover the props for that. But like, that with this episode, I'm like, this was the whole thing of like, no, let's have a look from Gal. Like, again, like, we'll get through the Gauche stuff as much as possible. As I know, I'm extremely biased when I'm like, I hate the fucking character no matter what he is, but like, they really try to sell you as like, no, Gauche, you have to understand it from his perspective, and it's like, and you can understand where it's like, okay, look, he used to be a noble kid. His sister is all that he's got left after his parents were actually murdered, and they were set up by some other nobles and got like killed on a street, and he literally lost everything. He lost his parents, he lost his house, and he was forced on the streets stealing just to feed his little sister. Like, he had to go to jail to like make money and shit like that. It's just the way that he was going across everything was wrong, and it gave him this huge sister complex. And you get to see that like this whole thing of like Yami saying like, I don't care if you're a culprit, if you're like a murderer or anything like that, if you're useful and you can finally do something for this kingdom, and like you'll eventually kind of grow out of this, whatever this phase is, and show like a decent human being you are, then good. Because you see as well Mary like saying like, no, you need to stop this, gosh, like you are during horrible, or like being horrible, you need to realize that Asta and the old lady are actually going out of their way to buy time, which you get to see where it's like, he's like, I'm sure Asta and them are running right now. They're probably like getting out of there. They know they can't beat that thing, and it turns to like, it literally turns to him going back, and Asta's there like barely hanging on. Same with the lady, where it's like, we're trying to get all the kids out as fast as possible, and it's just like Sally going with the monster and the salamander, and they're blasting through, and he's like, no, we need to actually work together to do this, which ends up with Gash getting a new move where it's like, he finally put trust in someone, and you get to see it's like, I finally trust someone a little bit, that it gave me a power for a new spell, which is like, quick, let's make a bunch of Astas with the combination of real double, and you get to see as well why he covers his left eye. It isn't just like, well, apart from like a character design wise and all that you get to see, he actually reveals it, and there is a magic item in it. There's like an actual mirror shoved in his eye, which I believe, like, even still to this day, like, we know, obviously we know it's a very powerful magic item. I don't think this still has been explained what actually happened to his eye at that point, and I hope that we kind of do at this point, especially with the current stuff happening in the manga. I really would like to see if they explain or go further down the line with what exactly is up with that. Maybe we might find out in the next couple of chapters or so. Like, I'm being very looking forward to, like, reading that, but you get to see that he copies, like, a bunch of Astas, because Asta realizes that, like, and also Gauch is like his absorbing blade, which I'm glad I actually stand corrected, because I've mentioned this as well in the manga. I was like, I don't really remember Asta using the blade hardly after like the dungeon arc, and it's like, no, this is the one time that they actually did it, and it was like, this is the only other time since he actually used the blade properly, and it was like a combination of Gauch was like, this works on this creature, but Asta can't fire multiple slashes as this. He can only has like the one swipe, and he's like really slow. He still hasn't fully like learned how to use this thing, and it was like, let's make multiple versions, like just multiple versions. I was like, that scene looks so much better in this anime than it did in the, like, honestly, in the manga shot. Like, it didn't look great. Like, even still, it was like Naruto clone. I remember hating that. It's like, this just looks like a fucking Shadow clone, and it doesn't look great. And it was like, now the anime, it's like there were some rough shots at that point, because it's a shame, like, the rest of the episode was really good with some of the shots that they had on there, but it was like, that bit looked a little rough. You can see where it's like, oh, let's just kind of click and drag. It's nothing Berserk 2017, anything like that, where you click and drag and stuff like that, but it's like, you can see where it's like, these Astas are kind of being shaped around a little bit, moved around, looking like some Adobe Premiere effects on here. But overall, yeah, no, this was, I like to say, this was a decent, like, this was probably the best episode of this arc. It's not the best episode of the show, with it ending that they actually managed to overcome Sally, which then, the way how they handle everything with Lee, like the way how like the magic's like, yeah, we did great and all that, and like the fucking stupid Snow Kid is like, I'm gonna redeem myself for both me and my brother, which, by the way, they tried to give a little sob story for fucking Barrow, or whatever the hell his name was, where it was like, no, I had a little mother and I cared about my brother slightly, and it's like, no, just get these two out of here. And then it's like, oh, we just straight up killed that character. Lee just comes in, murders him, goes in, stabs Gauchab, and pretty much crucifies the old lady. And it's like, by the way, I'm the leader of the White Eyes, and it's like, pleasure to make your acquaintance, like, on there. I am elite, like that. And I was like, yes. Yes, that's how you introduce him properly. And I was like, one, full thumbs up and all that. we've only heard him a couple of times on that, and it's like, I'm more familiar. I think it's maybe because I rewatched the episode where he actually appears in the anime with a bit of the English dub and all that, so I definitely like both English version of him and the Japanese version of Lee. I'm like, yes, he needs that pompous, worry, like, asshole fucking voice to him, and I'm like, yes, that is exactly what he needs. Like, this fucking messiah piece of shit. It's just, even still, like, the way how he's always handling, he's always coming out this glowing light, and they're always, the way that they're always trying to frame him as well, is like, no, he's a messiah, he's like this glorious person, and it's like, you know, like, I'll bring true, you know, retribution. It's like, yes, like, that's how I want to see it. And now, with, like, that being the ending of the episode, where it's like, we literally just got the kids out, and it's like, the leader is here, the teleportation guy's there, we've got a beaten up Sally, and it's like, oh, we are straight up. And that's the thing where it's like, the opening spoils a little bit about it, and the same thing can be said as well with the preview just straight up spoils what's going to be happening next. Like, it felt like with this episode, as I've been complaining that, like, the pacing has been all over the place, this is the one where the pacing didn't actually, like, annoy me. It actually felt like we had, like, 2, maybe 3 chapters. It felt like a normal episode where it's like, things were going by, it was happening, like, one scene led to the other. It never felt like any scene ever dragged to me. There was, like, definitely a point, like, I've had points in, like, when I've been watching a Black Clover episode, and I've been like, we actually done with these 20 minutes already. It's like, how we've done so little in 20 minutes, and it's like, no, there felt like a lot of stuff was happening. Maybe it was the bulk of the chapters on there, but I'd like to say this was maybe 2, 3, even 4 chapters. I doubt it's 4, but it's like, they had the balls to fucking do that after all this time, and that would be great. But overall, this was a great episode. It's the best one of this arc so far. I'm really looking forward to the next week's episode. I cannot wait for that, and especially with more of the stuff that's going to be leading up, with especially now that we're at episode 33, and it's like, we have one real last arc to do after this one for the anime, so I'm wondering to see how they're going to be handling that. But that I'm looking forward to, probably, I would say, the next 4 to 5 weeks of this stuff and all that, is where it's like, oh, we have finally begun the real part of this arc. It's like, yes, bring back the Midnight Sun, bring everything that you like, all of these guys. Like, we need more of these guys. Just do it all. So, thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you guys, though, next time.